Well, Hurricane Debby has now made landfall as a Category 1 hurricane, so we're going to start to get our advisories every 3 hours once again. So it's 9 a.m. as of doing this video, but we have our 8 a.m. advisory. Hurricane Debby still a Category 1 hurricane, but only 1 mile an hour above tropical storm status with sustained winds of about 75 miles an hour. Once it drops below that 74 mile an hour mark, that's when we'll start to see tropical storm status with Debby. But note the pressure is at its lowest as of right now, so 979 millibars, and continuing to trek into the northern portion of Florida and eventually go over the Valdosta area and southern areas of Georgia. Taking a look at its cone forecast, you can see it's going to be very slow moving over the next couple of days in the southeastern portion of Georgia before eventually going back out to the Atlantic Ocean, trying to reorganize a little bit over that warm Atlantic water and then continue its northeastern trek up the Atlantic coast. But right now, so many question marks remain around the midweek, so around Wednesday, Thursday, on into Friday. Some models are hinting at a possible loop back around here in central Georgia, but other models are continuing to push it northeast. And right now, that's where the most confidence does remain that this will continue to trek to the northeast. So it did make landfall as a Category 1, sustained winds of about 80 miles an hour. So those winds are down about 5 miles an hour or so. But this was near Steinhatchee, Florida, around 7 a.m. Worth noting that this is about 15 to 20 miles away from where Hurricane Idalia made landfall last year in the Big Bend area, actually a little bit less than a year ago. So two hurricanes making landfall in the Big Bend region of Florida within the past year. So this has constituted weather impact alert days for today and tomorrow here in central Georgia. The main risk is going to be flooding, mainly in our south and our eastern counties, but also strong and gusty winds are going to be possible, and with all that rainfall accumulating, making the soil very saturated for things like trees to blow on over and damage outdoor structures or even power lines. So taking a look at our flood watch right now, many areas in central Georgia are included in this, stretching from Hancock County all the way down to Crisp County and everywhere further down to the southeast. I do believe this quadrant right here along I-16, just south of I-16, around Soperton, Vidalia, McRae, counties like Telfair, Dodge, down into Lawrence County, Wheeler, Montgomery, and Treutlen are going to be the most susceptible at getting those heavy rainfall accumulations. And also this flood watch is going to be mainly for those low-lying areas near bodies of water. So if your house is by a creek, a stream, a river, or a pond, those areas are going to be more susceptible to flash flooding. Now taking a look at our hurricane watches and warnings, we still have hurricane warnings around that area where Debby did make landfall, but areas further down to our southwest, so areas like Lee County, Sumter County, have been taken out of tropical storm watches and warnings, but it still remains for many counties here in central Georgia. So we have a tropical storm watch in place for Crisp County, Dooley County, Pulaski, up into Bleckley, Lawrence, Johnson, and Treutlen, and then all these counties outlined in the red down here, Dodge, Wilcox, Telfair, Wheeler, and Montgomery counties are in a tropical storm warning for tropical storm force conditions with winds 39 to 74 miles an hour. But I do believe once Debby treks further and further here to central Georgia, we're going to look at the winds on the lower end of that range. So right now, taking it through future view, you can see once the rain gets going later on this afternoon, that heavier rain or that lighter rain is virtually not going to stop for about a day or so. So we take it through future view. This is Tuesday at 5 a.m. still persisting in our southeastern counties, maybe some very outer bands moving further up to the northwest here in central Georgia. And then Debby continues to try to stall off the Atlantic coast, but also we are looking at Debby to continue to stay out of here in central Georgia and hopefully stop the rainfall as we get into tomorrow afternoon. But once we get into Wednesday, that's where the question marks remain. I'm going to show you our two long-range models. So you have the Euro in green and then the Euro in blue, excuse me, and the GFS in green. And you can see them split off by about Thursday evening. The GFS is definitely hinting at a punch back here towards central Georgia, but the Euro model is continuing on up the Atlantic coast into the Carolinas and eventually Virginia. That's where the most confidence remains as of right now. And then we look to have a frontal boundary towards the end of the week that will definitely push wherever Debby is back out to sea and hopefully off of land and not have any more impacts here along the southeastern coast of the United States. So take a look at our spaghetti models. You can see this reflected. This red line is going to be the Euro ensemble model and is continuing with that northeasterly direction along with a lot of our spaghetti plots. But when I flash it over to the GFS, you'll see that punch back here into central Georgia, going off the Atlantic coast of Georgia and then re-entering over here in central Georgia, which would raise the flood risk and constitute some more weather impact days as we go into Wednesday, Thursday, and possibly even Friday. But right now, as it stands, weather impact impact alert days for Monday and Tuesday. The main impacts, as I mentioned, are going to be flooding concerns for our far southeastern counties and also gusty winds up to about 40 or 50 miles an hour at times, but sustained winds are going to be more around the 20 to 30 mile an hour mark. What you're going to need is obviously an umbrella as you do head on outside for any activities that you do have, but also a cell phone to continue to stay updated with us here at 13 WMAZ. And also you are going to definitely need to take caution driving with the gusty winds and possible puddling on up of rainfall amounts that would create a flooding risk. So definitely take it a few extra minutes on the road and be very cautious, especially along the I-16 corridor.